Hello, awesome people! I hope you're having an amazing day today. Today we're taking a look at the R.A. Salvatore novel, Streams of Silver, that was published in the mid-80s. It was published for the Forgotten Realms. It was one of the earliest books that was published for that brand new series that was being launched by TSR. I bought this copy as soon as it came out. Because I bought the Crystal Shard from my local Walton Books in Southern West Virginia when I was growing up, and then I enjoyed it. So when I was, in grade school, so I definitely enjoyed it, and I knocked it out pretty quickly at a late night after I was done with my day as a student. So anyway, I definitely enjoyed the Forgotten Realm stuff. It's very this. I'm sure everybody who knows who R.A. Salvatore is, right? He's a best-selling novelist for the New York Times bestsellers list with 22 best-selling novels, which is a lot of best-selling novels. This gentleman has created it. This is his second novel, so I'm giving this probably more like a 7-. I gave the first novel, The Crystal Shard, a 6 out of 10 to. This one I'm giving a 7-, like a 6. Well. Yeah, probably a 7-, like maybe a 6.7 or a 6.6, and I'm rounding up to a 7 proper, rather than a better thing, because this is still early on in his career, and it's still a bit raw. I went back to this. I was hoping to knock it out during one day, actually, flying to Israel for vacation. I was in Israel for vacation for 10 days. I had 2 days flying there, and then one day, and I was there for 7 days proper. And then one day flying back. So I had 10 days total. And I took all 6 of these books. The first 3 books in the Icewind Dale trilogy, and then the 3 books in the prelude of the Drizzle and Dark Elf trilogy. So that was, those 6 books I took with the intention of knocking them out. My hope was that I was going to knock out the first book of The Crystal Shard in one day. It takes about 6 hours. Roughly, because it's about 300 pages, and it takes about an hour to read 50 pages in of the R.A. Salvatore novel stuff in his earlier writing. So my hope was to knock it out in my day. I got about 2 hours out in the first day, and then I was just sleepy and tired. And my hope was to knock this out in the second day, flying in, and I was just too tired. So I knocked out another 100 pages from the Crystal Shard, and then I knocked out another 100 pages at my hotel. And finished the Crystal Shard in 3 days rather than 1. So it was my hope taking this with me to knock it out on my second day. I just didn't get to it. I knocked it out 100 pages the following 2 days, and then 100 pages the last day. Finished it, and then I knocked out 100 pages of the sequel that day too, because I was really in the mood to continue to stuff. So I devoured it pretty quickly. It's just a 3-day book read at 2 hours a day. It's about 6, or if you just want to do 1 hour a day, which is nice reading pace for a lot of folks, it's less than a week, because again, it's about 50 pages an hour. So I knocked it out pretty quickly. It's definitely something you can knock out pretty quickly. I have gone back and reread this series a few times since I read it when I was a kid. It's definitely comfort stuff for me to read. R.A. Salvatore was once my favorite writer. After I read The Crystal Shard and then this book, and then the next book, he eclipsed J.R.R. Tolkien to become my favorite writer, and he was my favorite writer until I started reading Michael Moorcock stuff in high school. Then Michael Moorcock became my favorite writer. Then in college I encountered H.P. Lovecraft, and then in grad school, and then H.P. Lovecraft became my favorite writer. And he's probably still my favorite writer if I had to go to task and say, who's your favorite writer now? But I'm probably in more of I don't have a favorite writer mode anymore. But R.A. Salvatore was my favorite writer, so that's pretty cool. This guy is definitely well known for his combat scenes. Because he was a bouncer, so he actually was in combat quite a bit every night. It's part of his job. So he's somebody who definitely knows combat scenes and does them well as a writer, and that's probably his best thing. Now, his big creation in this first trilogy is the character of Drizzle, a dark elf from an evil race of people who has a conscience and was born with a heart of good, and he's now fled them to the surface Elfire, where he's regularly judged because of the content of his skin by the people about him. So it's definitely sort of a substitute for racism in this world, as well as, don't be racist towards people, as well as, just people who are like, but he doesn't ever, find the people that prejudge him badly, because his people are bad, right? And so he's not running around. So he's definitely somebody who's more broody. And interesting, now his character sort of changes in the first few books to the last 3 books. Like in Crystal Shard, I talk about this. He's this happy-go-lucky ranger who's always throwing himself into battle. And the main character of the first book, Wolfgar the Barbarian, says, you know, he's gonna be the death of me, right? But I'm gonna follow him into danger. But I'm still gonna follow him, knowing it. I'm still gonna follow him into danger, right? And you get that sense. Whereas in the prelude, he's much more of a brooding, introverted, less kind of guy. Yeah. So his character sort of changes a little bit from the beginning to the prelude, from the trilogy of the later sequels to the preludes. So anyway, and that sort of a change in sort of his concept and character will continue in the sequels to the first 6 books. I continue both stories, the Dark Elf trilogy and the stories from the Icewind Dale trilogy. So anyway, so that's pretty cool. So what's happening in this book is that our main character are going on a trip, and they're trying to find the homeland of the Dwarven kings, who's been lost from his land for more than 200 years, called Mithril Hall. So they're now seeking out this ancient Dwarven kingdom that his people were the kings of, and he is the next king in line of it. So he wants to try to find it, and this has been his quest to find the land of his homeland that he used to live in, but he's forgotten the way, and he's the only person alive in his refugees that still was alive then. So he's the only person who might have memories, and obviously that's been lost because he was a kid at the time. So now he is searching for it with Wolfgar the Barbarian, with Catti-brie, with Regis the Halfling, and with Drizzle and the Ranger, the Drow Ranger. I think one of the reasons why Drizzle is so popular, by the by, is because R.A. Salvatore combined 2 major archetypes that both were best-selling archetypes of their generations. The first was the Aragorn Ranger, good guy, wilderness ranger, can track people down, can find them, the Aragorn good guy type archetype. And then the next one is the Elric, the evil race of people that are much more eviler than humans, of the Melnemians. And he is from them, and he has pangs of consciousness. So he's this darker and broodinger and anti-hero kind of guy from the 60s. So you get the 40s. You get a generation from the first one from J.R. Tolkien, and then the next generation from Michael Moorcock. So I think that's definitely where this stuff comes from, and why it's so popular in the 80s as another generation later. So I by combining 2 major archetypes that were both very, very popular during the times, obviously he has a big hit on his hands. And I think that's where that came from, by the by. So there you are. Go ahead and leave you to it. Have you read Streams of Silver? Would you agree with my 7- rating out of 10? If so, let's talk about it in the comments below. And if you want to talk about spoilers, as a reminder, I keep my reviews spoiler free. But if you want to talk about spoilers in the comments below, let's do so. If you enjoyed this video, why not hit that subscribe button? There's going to be a lot more of these to follow. And then finally, I want to thank you so much for taking some time out of your day and investing it and watching my video. We all have so many things that are happening in our lives, and we're pulled in so many different directions. So the fact that you spent this time with me is incredibly humbling, and I appreciate it. So thanks again, and have an amazing day.